Okay, hi, welcome to the December 2017 Village of Buchanan meeting. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the October 24th workshop meeting. Any additions or corrections?
I have nothing.
I have one thing, page 4. In the first paragraph, 4 lines up, it says, in response to a question by trustee Zachary, this paragraph was about the White Street house, but the question was about a different property. And I think my question, if we could insert after, in response to a question by trustee Zachary, if we could insert regarding another building on White Street and Route 9A. It was about a different property. So, regarding another building on White Street and Route 9A. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
Okay. All right, on a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye. One abstention.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the floor, agenda items only. Any comments this evening? Under new business? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Eileen.
Yeah, I just want to know if,
Excuse me.
I just want to know if you can go over that part-time prosecutor, to let everybody know what that actually was about.
Okay.
Okay.
When we get to that, I'll explain it. Thank you. Okay, under new business, 4A, resolution declaring village vehicle surplus and authorizing the administrator to request proposals. Trustee Funchin, would you like to read that?
Whereas the village has recently evaluated the functionality of 2 of the village vehicles, the 2011 Ford Crown Victoria and 2005 Ford Explorer, and the village board has been advised that said vehicles are no longer needed by the village, and whereas the village board is desirous of selling said vehicle, now be it therefore resolved that the board declares that the 2011 Ford Crown Victoria and 2005 Ford Explorer are surplus and no longer needed for village use, and as such the village administrator is authorized to request proposals for the sale of said vehicles, and be it further resolved that if the village doesn't receive any acceptable bids in the following 60 days greater than the value of said vehicles worked in scrap metal, the aforesaid vehicles will be brought to Brookfield Recycling of Montrose. Be it further resolved that all village emblems and lettering be removed from vehicles before they are sold or brought to Brookfield Recycling.
Okay, thank you. We do this occasionally where we have a vehicle that is no longer functional for us or will cost too much to repair. And what we do is we put that out to bid. If there are no bids within 60 days, then we will scrap that. But as you can see, one of them was a 2005, so we really get a lot of use out of our vehicles and our equipment. But it's served us well, and it's time to move on with that. On a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, trustee Zachary, if you could please read the next one.
Sure. Village of Buchanan resolution establishing and appointing the position of part-time village prosecutor. Whereas the village board of trustees is desirous of hiring a prosecutor for the purpose of gaining adherence with code compliance, and whereas the mayor and the village board have fully reviewed all of the duties and qualifications pertaining to that position. And whereas the mayor and the village board have determined to appoint the position on a part-time per diem hourly basis, and whereas the mayor will be appointing a person by this resolution who shall serve at the will of the board until such time as the village board of trustees no longer believes it necessary to have a part-time village prosecutor, now be it therefore resolved that Joseph E. Ruyak III, Esquire, be and hereby is appointed as part-time prosecutor for the Village of Buchanan effective December 6, 2017, and be it further resolved that the said prosecutor will be compensated at the hourly rate of $200 and receive no fringe benefits from the Village of Buchanan, and be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to sign the retainer agreement with Mr. Ruyak.
Okay, thank you, trustee Zachary. We have the building inspector working on code compliance, and we need someone in the court to be able to prosecute that. And we did hire someone last month, and after we hired them, they decided that this wasn't in their best interest. So we have found someone else, and I believe that they are qualified. If you look at his qualifications, he is qualified for the position, and like I said, we do need someone to prosecute some of these code violations. So that's why we are hiring this person, and it's only on an as-needed basis, and they will get paid accordingly to the amount of time that they put in. On a motion?
Madam Mayor?
Sure.
May I, I'm sure that this has crossed your mind and the administrator's mind already, but I'd like to request at the next workshop that we have an executive session because some of this enforcement could involve litigation. I'd like to request that we have an executive session to bring the board up to snuff on what exactly is going on and what potential legal issues we could have, so we're all aware and brought up to date, and possibly have the building inspector come to that executive session.
Okay, yep, that's no problem. Anytime the board would like an executive session. Plus, I was also thinking of asking the building inspector at our next workshop, because there are some things we have to discuss.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yep.
no problem.
Good, thanks.
Okay. Okay, where did I start? On a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
On a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Whoops. Flipped over the page too soon. Okay. Information from officers and departments. The Justice Court report for October 2017, almost the end of 2017, is received and filed. One of the reporting amounts was $1,368. The other was $1,338, $1,338. Police reports, September through November 2017, and I'm looking at the November one right now. And just as, quick review, 28 alarms, 6 animal complaint, 5 arrests, 6 calls for service, 5 disputes, family or neighbor, motor vehicle accidents, 4, medical aided, 16, noise complaints, 2, personal illness, 3, utility complaint, 5, vehicle and traffic investigations, 8, village code violations, 4, moving summonses, 47, parking summonses, 11. Just so, we give you an overview of what's happening in the village.
Just one question.
Sure,
Mayor.
absolutely.
Do we get any yearly compilation of all this? I'm thinking from the point of view of our village is pretty safe compared to a lot of other places. Very safe, and it might be something that would be a positive thing for people wanting to move into the village. I don't know who keeps statistics, or whether it's kept on a yearly basis, or whether there is even one for all of Westchester. But if maybe we could ask Brian,
Sure.
if there is such a thing, And it could be something that could be given to our real estate agents in the area that would, help attract people.
Yeah, so if you could ask him before the
Absolutely.
next meeting, if he could compile that. You just have to run tallies throughout the whole year. Okay, good. Good thought.
Yes.
Fire inspector's report, received and filed. Planning board minutes, July 20th and October 19th, received and filed. Attorney's report, Stephanie Porteous is not with us this evening. So Kevin, we are going to move along to the administrator's report.
Sure. I just want to mention that Acasella Construction had completed the curb work throughout the village. They were great to work with. They weighed some of the sections, because obviously whenever we start doing curb and sidewalk work, there pops up a lot more people saying, hey, well, how about mine? What we tried to do is find the stuff that was in the worst condition. I mean, we added a couple sections of sidewalk on Lindsay that we felt could be potential trip hazards. So it's not that we're neglecting anybody, but we're trying to hit the worst spots first. So-
And also, thank you, they did by the post office, because like I had said before, it was a natural speed bump, but it was dangerous because it was actually on the sidewalk. And Acasella was the one who had done the renovation of the circle. When was that? That was
92? I think it was 92.
1992. So they haven't done any work for the village in a while, so they did a great job in 92 when they came and fixed that all up, so. Sorry.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay, no problem. Also, we have letters to Santa. We'll be accepting letters up until the 16th to get a letter back from Santa.
Oh,
Just
okay.
remember to put your return address on the letter to get a letter back. I just want to remind everybody, leaf pickup is continuing till just before Christmas to keep your leaves out of the roadway. The overnight parking ban started December 1st. We got no on-street parking from the hours of midnight to 7 a.m. and no parking in village lots between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Just allows for the efficient cleanup in climate weather. I also want to mention we have Toys for Tots collection downstairs. The Buchanan Police Department is collecting unwrapped toys for children in need. You can drop them off anytime between 8:30 and 4:30. I just want to remind the board, we just received another code update, so please drop off your code books, and we'll get them updated for you. We got some of the planning board members who have dropped theirs off, and we're just trying to move through all of them. So whenever you have a chance, drop them off, and we'll get them switched out for you.
Good.
That's it.
Yep, they need to be updated. Okay. I guess it's my turn. Okay, we are all at the tree lighting ceremony on Sunday evening. It was a great event, and it was so nice to see. There were so many small children there. It was really, really cute, and it was very well attended. So it was, Nancy did a great job, and I left out a few people to thank. Our highway department, our police department, our fire department comes out. The beautification committee did a lot of the decorating in the circle, as well as the highway department. Also Santa Claus. I know Santa Claus is busy this time of the year, but I was so happy that he came on the fire truck to be with us for a little while. And then after, the room was full. The second floor was just full. It was unbelievable. And the police department this year raffled off 2 bikes, one for a boy, one for a girl, so that was really nice. That was exciting. And the kids were just so excited. It just made the event. They were just so excited, and just, I guess children, yeah, they make the holiday. They
It was
really
cute.
do.
It was
Yeah.
very cute.
Yeah. Last night, I'm just giving a review of things that are happening. The beautification committee had their first wreath-making class, and if you want to see how many talented people there were there, it's on our Facebook, the pictures of what happened, how everything turned out. So it was a lot of fun. And let's see, coming up, things coming forward. On next Tuesday, the Buchanan 2021 committee will be meeting. It will be the second meeting. Our first meeting was in November. It's off to a good start. I think we have a good crew of people, and we'll be focused on the game plan, how we go forward with.
That's the 12th.
Yes, the 12th, that Tuesday.
What time?
I believe it's 7 we decided on, yeah. Okay, so that was a good meeting, and we're still waiting for the date from Entergy to go over to do a walkthrough with the spent fuel cask. I'd like the committee to see what that looks like and where they'll be. On December 7th at 1 o'clock, this year, the town will be hosting the Pearl Harbor Day ceremony, so if anybody would like to go to that. On December 15th, there's a joint meeting with Riverkeeper with about the $15 million fund that was set up when Entergy announced the closing. So that is going to be an interesting meeting. That fund has not been set up yet. That was, what had happened is, when they negotiated the closing, Entergy had agreed to a $15 million fund that would be used for the community, environmental, and different things. So this is the first meeting we're going to be talking about how that $15 million is going to be used. So like I said, it should be an interesting meeting.
Could you repeat the time and location on that one?
It's going to be at the town hall, and I believe it's at 11:30 at 12:15, and that's not open to everyone. That's,
That's for
yeah, for
officials?
board members. Yeah,
And
sure.
it's what date?
December 15th, Friday, December 15th,
At 11:30 in the
at
morning?
11:30 in the morning.
Okay.
On December 19th will be the next state task force meeting. That will be at the town hall. So I'm looking to see if there's any updates that they have. The state has hired someone, D. English, a consultant, to look at different things about potential redevelopment. So that should be a lot of interesting meetings coming up. Also, on December 19th, we all look forward to being at the Senior Christmas Luncheon. That's always a fun time to be with our seniors. So it's a busy month ahead of us, but going back to November 14th was our first Buchanan 2021 meeting. I think some good things came out of that. We had some good conversations. They were given the members were given a lot of information. So going forward, we'll be working on different things like the spent fuel cask. We're going to look at how we can maintain the village to be a viable community. So that's what the focus of this Buchanan 2021 is. On November 15th, we met with Megan Taylor. She's the Regional State Economic Development Person, and we spent several hours with her. We went around the village and showed her different properties that could potentially be redeveloped. We're looking at that because we're trying to replace the tax base, what we've lost, what we're going to lose. So we had a lot of conversation. She had some interesting ideas, and so we'll continue to work with her. But I thought that was a pretty productive meeting that day. And she also will be at the next state task force meeting on December 19th. And then around Thanksgiving, I had the opportunity to serve our veterans. And there was a dinner given, and it was with the Purple Hearts Society. They had they had to have 2 servings. They had a beautiful dinner. Thanksgiving dinner, and a lot of volunteers. It was a great event. The veterans had a great time. So it was my great honor to serve them because they've served us so well over the years. So I'd like to continue to go to those events. It's really amazing. And I think, other than wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, I want to include everyone. And I wish for everyone much health and happiness in the new year. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're going to take our Christmas break. We're going to get rested up, and at the beginning of the year, we'll be ready to go again. So thank you all. Trustee Zachary, what do you have for us?
Oh, thank you. I would like to just talk a little bit about the survey that went out recently. A public opinion survey, just to try and gauge public sentiment on some of the issues ahead of us as far as the Entergy closure and what adjustments the village might have to make. We're still getting replies in. I've tabulated some of the surveys and just received about 20 more that have come in. But just a general thing I could say, just to give people a rough idea, and it's still being tabulated, so I'm not going to be too specific, but one of the questions had to do with if there have to be tax increases. Basically, would you rather see them phased in starting soon, or would you rather see them all come in one hit in 2022? Now, the survey is flawed to some extent in that we have not yet figured out all of the things that we might have to do, what properties might get developed and tax revenue comes in, what state aid is there. You heard the mayor referring to some of these things. What is the tax situation going to be at Entergy? Because while we lose most of the tax money there might also be other tax money, we still will collect some taxes, and there could be additional tax money based on their storing waste material in the casks. That's all the waste on that site is being temporarily stored in concrete casks, and the federal government has given them no place to put it. There could be some tax implication for that. So we don't have all the answers to say this is how much taxes are going to come up. Some people in the survey did comment and complain that, how can I answer this question if you're not giving me dollar amounts? I understand and I agree. However, just by getting a general sense of people's feelings, it is still helpful to us. And we could try down the road when we have more exact information and numbers. We certainly always will seek the public's input at that point, through public hearings, through another survey, whatever form is appropriate at the time. At this point, it's pretty evenly split between people that would rather see the tax increases phased in gradually starting the next tax year, and the number of people that would like to say, don't increase anything until 2022 and then do it all at once. And that would lead me to conclude that somewhere in the middle is probably the prudent way to go. But again, we're not raising taxes without knowing what we're dealing with. We're not just going to raise taxes for the sake of raising taxes. We would only do it when we have to, and if we have to. Certainly everybody will be apprised ahead of time. We're not going to send out this survey now and then suddenly go, surprise, in 3 years, here's your big tax increase. We will always welcome the public to stay involved, watch our meetings on the Buchanan website, come to the meetings, and the information will come out as we have it. It was another very interesting thing. We got about 85 surveys back in the mail. The survey is also on the village website. We've gotten 45, I think, about 45 back online. And there is a big difference between the people answering by mail and the people answering online. The people answering by mail, to a very large extent, when asked if we had to eliminate a department to save money, the people answering by mail overwhelmingly said, get rid of the police department. The people answering online overwhelmingly said that's the last thing they want to eliminate. Complete opposite. And I almost wish now we had included some demographic questions to attribute that, how is it that the people that answer by mail and the people that answer online, and I think you could guess, but since we didn't include questions about what's your age, what's your, because there's going to be a component as far as people using computers tied to age, and there's also going to be a component with older people. They're more likely to be on fixed incomes. So they're going to answer questions one way. Everybody that's 6 years old, between 6 years old and, 50 or 60, is probably using computers. And, so younger people maybe that are still actively and gainfully employed, who are more likely to answer on, I'm conjecturing, I don't know this, but that would seem to be, seem to be some relationship. So answers are very different depending on whether it was a mail-in or a computer response. Let's see. In general, people do not want to see tax increases. That's a very, when asked, we tried to ask what kind of tax increase could you bear? Bad question, because nobody's in their right mind is going to say, hey, please raise my taxes 100%. So overwhelmingly people said 0 to 25%. The gist of the survey is telling us that people do not want to see their taxes go up a lot. Although there are some people that pointed out that the village tax is only a small part of your total tax. The 3/4 of your total home tax is probably your school tax. So what happens there has a big impact on people, a much bigger impact on people than what could potentially happen here with the village tax. I'm going to also just read a few comments.
Oh, boy. Okay, that's fine.
Some of them are very good, some of them are very funny.
No, that's what people think.
Okay. So, people were, aside from just answering the questions, one person said in there, where you could write in comments, that we should start a mega attraction like that stupid Blaze thing in Croton. That thing must rake in millions every year, no joke. They have expanded it to other silly little lighting events now. Buchanan can have a yearly event or bi-yearly event that rakes in a lot of cash that we can use to replace the energy loss. Blaze started out as a goof, but I'm sure it rakes in millions now. Tickets are $20 and it sells out. Buchanan can start its own mega business somehow. Damn, I have so many ideas. We can do this. We can make a mega business or so good it can actually lower our taxes. There has to be another way besides tax increases. I have other ideas. I'll have to tell the politicians in person.
Come to the Buchanan 2021 meeting
Thank
next
you. You
Tuesday.
took the words right out of my mouth. So, truthfully, I've come up with wild ideas, and people look at me like I have 3 eyes.
Yes, Nick,
And even if you think that your ideas are wild, come on down and pitch them, because even if that is wild, there might be something from that we can take, maybe. We don't necessarily have to, whatever tax money we're losing doesn't all have to come in one shot. If we could have an annual event that brought in
$1 million?
$2 million, I think we'd all be spinning at the end of that weekend, but or month or whatever. But anyway, I love the idea. I love creative ideas. We have to look at every idea. The village board is trying to do that, but I like that one. Here's another one. From the days of Bill Burke up to the current administration. Who's Bill Burke?
He was a mayor many years ago.
Before my time here.
When Con Edison, that was part of the,
That was,
I think he was the mayor
70s or
when the
80s?
negotiation of Con Edison coming to the village.
Oh,
Bill
okay,
Burke,
so
yeah.
that's going way back. So I'm glad we named Burke Court after him. From the days of Bill Burke up to the current administration, Buchanan officials should have known this day was coming. It's so sad that it's laughable that now the day of reckoning is here. This horribly flawed survey is the best any of you can come up with. How much are any of these moves going to save me? So, well, yes, I think we would benefit from long-range planning, but a lot of times it's difficult. And again, another person, come pitch your ideas with us.
Well, we
And
always
we are
knew.
certainly trying to do our best to look ahead at this point.
We always knew there was an end date. That is true. And the end date was supposed to be around 2034. So things change,
Okay.
and here we are.
Yeah, I'm
And,
reading replies, whether they're flattering or not, because,
You like the
hey, we got to deal with it, right?
That's right.
So
Hey,
here's
it
one,
is what it is.
and I will point out that out of 110 that I've collated so far, that I've looked at so far, about 5 people in their comments said, ditch the village, merge with the town.
So
Other
that's-
people might have said, merge a department or something, but it's a very small percentage of people that would like to see the village disbanded. But there were a couple of comments to that effect. This board, I think, is committed to doing whatever we can to keep the village intact and finding a way to make it work economically. Here's a nice comment. Talking about taxes and services is fine. My question is, where are we going to get power from? No one is talking about where the power will be coming from. This is going to be an economic disaster. Let's stop kidding ourselves. Well, the village board really cannot go out and seek alternative power sources. And there are state agencies and other groups, I'm sorry, what's the name of the New York State Power Grid? What's the acronym for that? Anyway.
New York State Independent System
New
Operators.
York
Right now, they're
Independent System
within
Operator,
a-
okay.
within a
There are
couple
other groups that are
weeks, there'll be
exploring this.
something.
At a recent meeting, one of the meetings that the mayor referred to, Entergy did discuss some of the possible sources of power down the pike. There are a couple of gas plants in the works, not online yet. One's close, one's not very close, I believe.
Yeah,
One's
one's
held up.
having some problems with getting the gas line because of New York State DEC.
So we do have 3 or 4 more years with Entergy up and running, and there are other things in the works. And I specifically asked the Entergy engineer at the time of that meeting, is it possible, if there's not enough stuff feeding into the grid when it's ready for the plant to close, that the plant will stay open? And the answer was basically not a very good chance of that. But we'll see. But that's not in the village jurisdiction, and that is something we're trying to keep aware of and that other groups are involved with. I'm skipping a few here that sort of replicate some of the other things I said. There are a couple of other, let's see. It is important that the Village of Buchanan stand as a welcoming, active community to potential new businesses and homeowners. It is ever more important that building owners at the Buchanan Circle, the very heart of our village, do whatever it takes to open empty storefronts. These vacant spaces, some of which have been shuttered for decades, are depressing eyesores and turn people away. We do understand that. There is good news. One property in the village that's been vacant for a while is soon going to be occupied, one very prominent property. You know, a lot of this has to do with the way businesses have developed over the last several decades, starting with the malls and the mega stores, taking the little mom and pop pharmacies, putting them out of business, and then you have a CVS that everybody has to drive to. So, you know, the business landscape has changed. It is part of what we are looking into, and we're, you know, trying to find ideas and ways to develop and improve things. And the last thing, actually, the last thing I want to say, one more here. We need more of a town center to attract visitors. Less speeding through town, fix the roads. We've been working on that.
We've been working.
The gas diggers fix the roads the gas diggers tore up. I think the last section of gas digger torn up road was paved a couple of weeks ago.
Well, we've got more problems up on Rockledge.
Fewer trucks. Honestly, the town has no charm. Art museums, green space, places to boat, old ships as museums like the Intrepid, Historical Society, little stores. So it's a good picture. Come on down and give us some ideas. You know, we're trying to talk to business people now and find ways to get these little spaces and improvements in businesses, and we'd love to hear more specific ideas from you. The last thing I wanted to point out was in the survey, one of the things that we talked about was asked was if we were going to close a department, which would you pick? And the sewer plant was in there. And while that almost seems like, hey, it's just the sewer plant, get somebody else to take it over, privatize it, whatever it is, now that we're in a position of having to attract business, we also realize that the sewer plant is one of our biggest assets. And so our view of this from a negative thing that we don't want any part of to now possibly keep it in good condition and have that running and working in good condition could be one of the biggest assets the village has. So even as we go ahead, our perspective changes and how, you know, and what we have to look at evolves constantly. So, I'm sorry, I hope I didn't bore anybody, but
No,
I loved
it's
having all these comments, and I want to encourage people. We got about 130 surveys back so far, and if, you know, if 5 of those people came to meetings regularly or communicated to us regularly, their ideas, some of the people have good ideas. Please, we'd welcome your involvement. Further questions through the email or coming to our board meetings. Thanks.
Thank you. I just want to comment on a few things. Like you said, and I've been saying, there's a lot of balls in the air. So there's a lot of different things that are happening. Yeah, so we're working on a lot of things, but nothing's set in stone yet. So that's why we can't give you anything concrete right now, but we continue to work on things. One thing I forgot to mention, Nita Lowy did come to the Village of Buchanan a couple of weeks ago. She's also introducing legislation. She has also co-sponsored the Stranded Act bill, which has been introduced by the mayor in Zion, Illinois. So what I need everyone to understand is the money, it's not a tax. It's not a tax on the spent fuel rods. What it is, it's compensating the community, really giving the community back money that they have already paid into. So I'm just going to very quickly explain it because I know I did before. So what that is over $500 million has come out of Entergy that has come from the ratepayers, and that money was to be used for a final repository. So there's money, there's I think $36 billion in the Department of Energy fund to find a final repository. So all that bill is asking for is that per kilo that the community is compensated for that. And I do not have that number, what that would look like if that bill was passed, but I am working on getting it because we need to know how many kilos will be stored over there. One of the bills with Nita Lowy was trying to get the waste out of here and stored somewhere else on an interim basis. So there's different things that she's also introduced. So there's just a lot happening, and I think, especially if you look on TV, the last meeting we had, the Buchanan 2021, the first meeting, it was kind of an overview where we are in the last 11 months. So if you are interested to see what's happened, you know, that's still on TV. That will be on TV probably for like another month, so everyone understands what's been happening. And you know, Nick, with that survey, I just maybe it's people who haven't lived here all their life, but we do have access to the water. We have a beautiful park in Lents Cove. We're talking about that in the future, but there is, you know, if you have a kayak or a canoe, you definitely have access to the water. You can get into the water. There's a trail, so. I don't know what maybe we just need to put a little booklet together, what Buchanan has to offer, and maybe that could be part of it, and then people will understand what we have here. The other thing with the Buchanan Circle, the building that has been empty for many, many years because the owner did not want to put food in there and was being very careful who she rented it to. She had an offer from an adult store that wanted to open a business there and give her more rent than she was asking for, but she didn't think it was appropriate to have such a thing there. So there have been offers over the years, and she was just very fussy who she was going to put in there. And now there is a woman who is going to be renting it. She'll be open January 1st. It's an efficiency training. So it's basically a personal trainer one-on-one. So that will be opening up. The other two businesses out there, understanding, and I'm not going to get into detail, I'm not sure about one of the businesses, but where the pizzeria was, somebody had bought that, and they stayed there for a few months. The sign went up that they were on vacation, and they are gone. So I think what this community, and I think all of us have to understand that if we want to bring business into the community, whether it's out at the Circle, whether it's on 9, the community has to support the business so that the business can stay here. So I'm just putting that out there. I mean, we can bring in all kinds of businesses, but then the community has to get behind them to keep them here so that they make money and that they stay. So, and that person that I was talking about, I'm talking in the, second or third person, is myself. So I know on the surveys a couple of times people were disappointed that was empty out at the Circle, but it wasn't because I didn't want to rent it. It's because the right people weren't looking to rent it. It's in the center of our village, and I just felt we were waiting for the right thing to move in, because one of the things in the code says that you can have a funeral home there too. Well, I don't know in our business district, that's something we really have to look at in our code book. I don't know if that's something you really want, not only parking, but I don't know, is that something you really want to drive into the center of a village and see a funeral home? So, so that's my comments on the Buchanan Circle. Thank you.
Can I just,
Yeah, absolutely.
as far as watching meetings, you said something about the Buchanan 2021 meeting on the TV channel that'll be up there for about a month. However, we have now on our website, you can watch the meetings at any time, and they are not coming off. So you'll have previous meetings staying on. Is that meeting on the website?
Sure.
I think we were going to try and,
All right. I'll
because,
look at that.
because and again, there's lots of people that don't rely on that watching it on channel 78 or whatever it is. You watch it online, you can drag the cursor, you can, if you're at a part where you're not interested, you could pull it, you could speed forward, you could pass my long drawn-out reports,
They're
I know
always
you were
interesting.
thinking that,
No,
Rich.
they're always interesting there.
But whatever it is, it's a much more convenient way to watch them, and the meeting should be left on there, so you'll be able to go to a past meeting, and another way to look at the meetings.
Thank you.
Also, you can also go to the Hen Hut School District website, and they have a lot of their meetings posted there. Might be a good idea to see the kinds of things that the school's discussing with this pending Entergy closing. I just was made aware of that, and I looked at a few of those meetings, and might be something that
Yeah, we
you
all
guys might
have,
wanna-
the village has their own focus, and the school district definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I've told people the Buchanan taxes are one thing, the school tax is a whole nother thing.
Right,
But I
but-
know they're working on things,
Yeah,
so.
and that's going to affect us as well.
Yes,
So just
absolutely.
something to, something to look at.
Was that your report, trustee Pasquale?
No, ma'am, I
Okay.
have,
Okay,
no. I actually have an acknowledgement I'd like to make.
Sure.
We hit a milestone this year. This year, Chief Brian Tubbs became the longest tenured police officer in the history of the Buchanan Police Department. Chief Tubbs started with the Buchanan PD in 1982, and on August 19th has 35 years and 171 days with the Buchanan Police Department, surpassed Chief Bill Gillum, who served Buchanan for 35 years and 170 days between 1929 and 1965. And when you're a cop, you get this. When you start counting the days, you'll know why. The years are fun, but when you start with the days, it's you've been here a long time. And also, last month I had started just acknowledging our police department. Last month I read some of the calls that our police responded to, and I had to sit down with Chief Tubbs, and that's something that I'd like to begin doing every month. Just just if there's anything interesting that he can pass our way. This way, our community kind of knows what's going on in our police department, what kind of jobs they're actually responding to. I have a few here, so I'd like to read them.
Good, no, I think that's a good idea, thank you.
Oh, sure. At November 9th at 12 noon, Officer Shane Farrell was called to aid a woman who accidentally locked her cars with a young child strapped into a baby seat inside the car. Officer Farrell was able to quickly open the car, and the child was fine. On November 23rd at 4 a.m., Officer Anthony Palmetto responded to a Tate Avenue residence for a dispute between neighbors which was about to become physical. Officer Palmetto was able to effectively separate both individuals as they were about to exchange punches and got them to quickly go back inside their homes. On November the 25th at 10 a.m., Officer Farrell responded to a residence for a party having a diabetic emergency. Officer Farrell assisted in rendering aid until the ambulance and the paramedic arrived. On November 26th, boy, we had quite a week, Sergeant Mike Guida responded to a call for a woman in cardiac arrest. While Sergeant Guida was assisting and rendering aid to the patient, she regained her pulse and consciousness. The ambulance then responded and transported her to the hospital. These are so important, these aided cases. I really can't stress that enough. On November 30th at 5:40 p.m., Officer Rob Buddy receives a call of a suspicious person going to houses on Craft Lane. Officer Buddy located the person and determined that he was a salesperson going door to door. The salesperson was issued a summons for not having a peddler's license. Just bear with me a couple more.
No,
December
that's fine.
1st at 3:30 p.m., Sergeant Guida, Officer Buddy, and Chief Tubbs responded to a car accident with injuries on Westchester Avenue. The officers aided the driver and passenger and made the area safe until the fire department and the ambulance arrived. And on December 2nd at 1:30 p.m., Officer Farrell arrested a 33-year-old male for unlawful possession of marijuana in an area where residents have reported problems. So this is just, little updates we can give you just to let you know what our police department is doing. And with that being said, I'd like to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas to you and all your families, and season's greetings, and have a happy, happy, healthy New Year. And like Teresa said, we're going to have a lot to do this year. That's it for me.
All right, thank you. No, I like the updates, the reports from the police
Okay.
department, that's good. People want to know what's going on, so
Sure.
that's great. Thank you.
Buchanan blotter.
That's it. Trustee Funchin, what do you have for us this
Well, there's not too much more to say here. I'm glad Nick has done all the work on the surveys. I was out of action for a bit there myself, and it's real important that it's people get involved, because 2022 will be coming around very quickly. But thank you, Nick, for doing all the work, and our mayor, who has really been going like bat out of hell to all these darn meetings and everything else. So I hope everything will get done. I have one question that really is just outside of Buchanan. I happened to notice, I was up in the diner the other day, and that street that's right next to us, they have a sign right where I pulled in. It says, "Caution, radiation area." Does anybody know why that is a sign saying that?
It's possible it's not nuclear radiation. On a construction site, you can, if it's, you could even have that up for a laser. If they're using laser devices, it could be the
Oh, okay.
laser.
All right.
They're soldering,
Oh, it could be
Yeah.
that also, yeah.
because they're doing a lot of pipes.
Oh.
What I understand is that Con Edison finally, like, they were offered when Spectra came through to tie in, and they said, no, no, no. So now, what I understand is Con Edison has requested to tap into the Spectra line for gas now. So I think that's what all that construction is over there. They put a new metering station there where you see the mounds of dirt when you're coming into the village. So I think that
Okay.
road is all dug up for that. So they might be like, they used to say solder the pipes or whatever, like when they, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, no, I
Could
just,
be,
yeah, I
but we
just
can
saw the
find
sign.
out. No,
Yeah.
but that's a good question,
Yeah, I just
yeah.
want, make sure that, because it's so close to us.
Well,
I usually do my yearly thing about Christmas time with Christmas lights. Be careful. The new ones, of course, are great. The LEDs, they stay very cool. But the older ones, you have to be careful with the, I always recommend that people never leave their house with the lights on or go to bed with the lights on, because you never know what can happen. And all you have to do is see some of these Christmas trees. The fire departments put out videos of them going up so quickly. I mean, before you can blink your eyes practically. And just finally, everybody have a very happy, holy Christmas and a great New Year, and enjoy all the other holidays of the season, and enjoy your family, and have a great holiday season overall. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rich, and we're very happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Trustee Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, to all the village residents who came out to the Christmas party, it was quite a showing. And, I look at the village as the cup is half full, not half empty. The amount of young people that were there with the young children shows the vibrance of this village, and it is going to continue to grow in my estimation. We have a lot of young people moving into the village. And, I've been here 24 years. There are people who've been here longer. There are people who've been here less time. But we have a very good thing going on here. We've got a great style of living. We have great housing stock. And, hey, we're, 28 miles from the New York City line, So it's a great suburban area. And certainly it's a piece of Americana, of a small town, a small village, knowing your neighbors, knowing your children who go to school with other children. That's one of the reasons I moved up here 24 years ago and continue to be a keen observer of that. Nick, for your questionnaire, they made a comment about the Historical Society. We've done some very nice things with the young people at BV in communication with the school district, and we hope to continue that effort to let our young people know the history that they have in front of them. We are one of the few villages in town with an historical room, which was named after our esteemed mayor, Mr. Burke. And, you have an opportunity to come in to visit it, and we will be doing open houses in the spring with that. Anecdotally speaking, where I'm at on Lake Drive, there have been 4 new families moved in over the last 4 years. And everybody came in, didn't have any children. But now everyone has a child.
That's nice.
So it's a testament to what people are looking for and enjoying it just 28 miles from New York City. Again, the crowd Monday night was absolutely fantastic. The weather cooperated, and I would certainly like to thank all employees of the village for all the work that they do here. As I said, I look at our situation as the cup half full. We will make it through this energy situation. As the mayor said, a lot of balls in the air, but I think in the final analysis, we'll be okay. So on that note, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to all the village residents. Hug your children, love your neighbor, and treat your fellow man as the way you want to be treated. And that's what we do in this village. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Very nice.
Very nicely said.
With the historical room, I believe our 90th anniversary falls on a Tuesday, and we are going to have, an event over the weekend before that, but I'd like to have the historical room open that day all day. And we'll have cake, cookies, and coffee in the building all day.
Yeah.
So that will be in June, so something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
And Nick likes cookies. So, when you're talking about a lot of new people in the village, I met one of our new residents. His name is Henry. He's a year and a half old. So hi, Henry, if you're watching this, and he lives on Westchester Avenue. So it was nice to meet some of our new neighbors. Comments from the floor? All right, so Merry Christmas, everyone, Happy Holidays, and have a great Buchanan Day. Thanks.
Motion to close.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was so shocked that there were no comments from the floor, it threw me off. Motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, Kevin,
Hey,